so now the last bits of this fairly long lecture. I apologize for it, but this is actually quite fascinating, the last bit. Now we talk about the North Sea and the Baltic Sea. Why it's fascinating is actually I come from this, from northern Germany. Okay, I always get excited, although it's late, although it's pretty exhausting, I'm excited to talk about the North Sea. Okay, in these areas is always, you can always look at salinity fields to derive the circulation. Okay? From salinity fields is in these regions which are more dominated from freshwater runoff. Okay, you can infer the movement of the more saline open ocean water through the area. Again, this is shown in this little sketch. So you are now in the North Sea. So the North Sea is a relatively shallow region with most depth. It's shallower than 100 meters. So you can see that there's sort of an inflow of North Atlantic water and an outflow. It's sort of an anti-clockwise circulation. And on the left figure, it shows you the surface salinity. On the right, the bottom salinity. And the biggest changes that you can see here is near the surface, you get an outflow from the Baltic Sea. Freshwater outflow flowing along the Norwegian coastline into the North Atlantic. And why it follows the coastline like this is because of the Coriolis fault. And then near the bottom, you actually have a flow in the opposite direction. See that into the Baltic Sea. So, all right. I mean, there is not much more happening in the North Sea. You can see the constraint that the English channel poses on this exchange system. Limited exchange through the English channel. So, all right, let's have a look at the more exciting Baltic Sea. Okay, Baltic Sea. Here we are. This is the depth. Okay, depth. It looks again like distributions that you've seen before. However, it's much shallower. Only the regions which are just exceeding 100 meters, there are some deeper regions here, are stippled. Okay? And the shown are the contours for 50, 100, 300, and 500 meters. So the Baltic Sea is much shallower if you compare it to the Mediterranean Sea. It's also much smaller. Okay, and it has a significant input of continental runoff. All right, so let's have a look at it, at the salinity field. Salinity fields, have a look at the top image. You cut across the Baltic Sea, the connection to the North Sea is on the left, okay? And you're in the Gulf of Finland on the right, and this is salinity. And look at the numbers here, 4 grams per kilogram. It's very fresh water. Okay, this one is drinkable fresh water if it's not polluted that much. Okay, and you can infer the outflow of this fresh water into the North Sea through a channel which is known as the Kattegat and Skagerrak. How cool is that? You can also see the inflow of more saline water near the bottom. Okay, you can see the inflow of water. So now if you study these so-called positive estuaries, okay, so-called estuaries, and you'll learn all about estuaries in the second part of the. If you study the dynamics, is actually that the inflow of saline water does not happen regularly. Okay, so essentially how this system works is if you have a strong outflow of fresh water near the surface, that triggered an enhanced inflow of water, of saline water. And it's this inflow that actually brings oxygen, dissolved oxygen, into these deeper regions. Okay? This ventilates the deeper basins, which are they're only 200, 300 meters deep here. Anyway, this ventilates the areas. Okay, and the bottom figure shows you a time series of the volumes of high salinity inflow into the Baltic Sea. So this is the water that comes from the North Sea, and you can see there are gaps, not only really where you have years where you have no inflow, and that's the times when the oxygen level drop to low, very low levels. Okay? And here is some bigger gaps of no data. Okay, you see these red areas. What do you think? What are these? What happened during these times where you have no data? Okay, so I leave it to you. I get very blurry, and so, but anyway, so this is the end of this lecture, and we just talk about the highlights or the questions that your neighbor might come and ask you.